Talk 360. Talk 360. For in-depth analysis on the week's news with Latif.
Kylie Minogue with the locomotion, 25 minutes after 4 o'clock. Good afternoon, and how are you doing? This is Eric Latif, just in time for Talk 360. We apologize for starting a bit late. We had a couple of technical issues here, but we are up and rolling. In the studio today, we want to discuss geopolitics, what is happening around our neighbors, and what Kenya's foreign policy should therefore look like in the coming days and coming years, and especially with the next government. In the studio, I'm joined by Dr. David Matsanga. He's a conflict resolution expert, and of course, you know him. He's worked in a couple of countries around the African continent on matters of conflict and resolution and diplomacy. I'm also joined by TNA strategist Moses Kuria. He has been working with political parties and shaping their strategy, and of course, he's therefore here to give us what should happen in the next government, Kenya's next government. Of course, he hopes that it's going to be a TNA government. You are going to determine that as a voter. But Moses Kuria is here to tell us what we should expect. Let's start with the biggest one, which is what's unfolding in the DRC. Now, we know that the M23 rebels have basically just rolled their tanks into the city of Goma, and they've overpowered the UN peacekeeping force there. The leaders of the East African region were meeting in Kampala yesterday under the auspices of the International Conference of the Great Lakes region, and were urging the M23 rebels, please stop talking like you want to overthrow a democratically elected government of Joseph Kabila. We also know that there is a couple of reports, UN reports, that are sanctioning and citing Uganda and Rwanda of suspected involvement in what's happening in the DRC. This is not looking so good for a country that is so rich, Dr. Matsanga.
Yes. Thank you very much, listeners. I think the basis, first point I want to make very clear is that the government of Democratic Republic of Congo does not have the capacity to resolve this conflict. Why? People have reneged on agreements that were made. The Lusaka Agreement, the Sun City Agreement, the Rwanda Agreement. All these agreements, part of the problem that Africa has is they make a good constitution and then they go back and destroy the same agreement.
They don't implement
the spirit. They don't implement it. We all blanked into a straight fight, picking Bemba, take Bemba to the ICC on trumped-up charges. Pick Thomas Lubanga, take him for charges on trumped-up charges on ICC. Pick Thomas Bosco Ntaganda. But look at this double standard, and I want listeners to hear this. Laureate Kunda is a free man. Double standards again. So part of the problem, one, Congo cannot be resolved. The heads of states tried, but they don't have the capacity. The capacity to resolve the conflict, the post-election conflict, has not been resolved in Congo.
The world's largest peacekeeping mission is in the DRC.
Yes.
The United Nations Security Council has been discussing DRC almost in every meeting that they have in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Regional leaders have been talking about DRC. African Union has been talking about ERC. We have a former president of Nigeria who had also even been appointed by IGAD to try and resolve the DRC issue. When you say that there is no... let's say Joseph Kabila's government, of course, is under siege. It doesn't have the capacity. Why don't the neighbors have the capacity? The African Union, the international community.
There is this blame game of blaming Uganda and Rwanda. I want to categorically say I've read the UN report. This report is completely shallow, hollow. It does not suggest what should be done. It has only blamed Rwanda and Uganda. And yet, there's one thing that I want you to know and know very well from here, listeners, that the companies that are mining, the mining companies that are fighting over the rights of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo are American companies, are European companies, French companies are fighting for rights, and they are the people funding the rebels, not these two countries. If you look at that report, the report does not actually tell us where do we go from here. If you have condemned Uganda, where do we go from here? If you have condemned Rwanda, where do we go from here? The report simply comes like someone came here in Kenya and wrote a report and condemned the police commission and the police. This type of experts are not the type of experts who should come to Africa. In fact,
Kuria.
Africans know more than the experts themselves.
You know, if you are somebody sitting in Rwanda or within Rwandan government,
Yeah.
and you are accused of funding M23 in the Eastern DRC, then you look back at 18 years ago.
Your own genocide.
You look at the genocide and you look at the Interahamwe, where they came from. I would say, thank you very much, but go to hell. I'm going to defend, the territory of Rwanda and Uganda by extension, and that's a pretension that we're having from the West. You look at from the time of Roro Kabila, the father of Joseph Kabila. And I think Rwanda has been trying, DRC has been trying in so many ways to come to terms with complexities. One, a lot of foreign interest because of the mining. Two, you remember that sort of Pan-African war that was there with Angola was there, Zimbabwe was there, Namibia was there. By the way, let's look at what happened to Zimbabwe. I remember I was in Zimbabwe in the year 1998. By that time, one Zim dollar was 8 Kenyan shillings.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went into war, and then the West decided to punish them.
Yes.
And I remember going back to Zimbabwe again after like 6 months, and one Zim dollar was 16 Kenyan shillings. That is half of the currency lost its value. Now today, I hear that you need to go and buy a car. Yes. You need to hire a truck to carry the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
to buy your own,
to buy your own car.
Yes.
And so Zimbabwe's problems can be directly related to
the
Congo.
Yes.
Angola has tried, and even Angola is because of the oil that they have survived. Angola has got one of the highest GDPs now, the highest per capita spend now. So
what is happening then? That does this mean that all these other countries are actually looking at DRC and seeing its vast resources?
Yeah, that is it.
And everybody wants a hand in it.
Yes, that is a curse. There are two things.
So what's wrong with the United Nations saying you guys are going for...
That is why I have said the report of UN does not point out American companies that are mining coltan. There are airfields in west-eastern Congo where planes are taking out coltan, which is the manufacture of telephones.
Yes.
These planes are going. America has a satellite that sees these planes. Why can't they say, stop, where are you going? What are you carrying? So when you come and label on Uganda or Rwanda, it's shallow. Let's go on the second thing. The biggest problem that we have about Congo is Congo is like a Yugoslavia in Europe. I don't want to suggest for you what you should think about as listeners and Latif. Yugoslavia was one of the countries that was balkanized in Europe. But when Yugoslavia was, problems were creeping in Yugoslavia until Yugoslavia went to pieces. And we have Albania, Kosovo, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Macedonia, and all these countries. Europe is stable.
Yeah.
Look at Congo. The north of Congo does not know the south of Congo. Let's be very honest. The east of Congo does not know the west of Congo. And now, what is happening that a soldier in Kisangani picks $200, a soldier in Kinshasa paid $1,600. People have not looked at the agreement of Lusaka, the agreement of Sun City, the agreement of Rwanda, which said soldiers must be integrated. That's why you find Thomas Lubanga in the ICC. That's why you find Bosco Ntaganda a warrant of arrest.
And Laurent Kunda.
And Laurent Kunda is somewhere sitting in a safe house because the Americans used him and they have left him somewhere in Rwanda. Look, Congo is cursed. It's cursed with the minerals it has had. From the time of the beginning of the 1960s, Patrice Lumumba died. Nobody has told us where he went. Who killed him? It's still the Americans. They have a problem. They have a hand in it. And I'm not, as African leaders gathered in Kampala, I have been very point blank. I wrote my document, it was circulated. Look, the main problem is Americans are hiding behind the mining companies.
Talk 360. Talk 360 for in-depth analysis on the week's news with Latif.